Whether you loved the ending or not, Stranger Things has officially wrapped, and to mark the end of one of Netflix's biggest shows, I set out to create my own scene inspired by the series. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the lighting process behind it, and if you stick around to the end, you can decide for yourself how the full scene turned out. Let's start with the opening scene where our main character runs into the house. We first need to create this moonlight shining through the door. So the first light we're gonna set up is the Evoke 600C here. And we're gonna have that high up on the high riser. We're gonna try and mimic some moonlight here. The cool thing is about the 600C is that it's IP66 rated. It's been raining pretty much the whole day. Luckily it ended now, the rain. But if it would come back, we would have no worries. I mean, this is like basically storm proof, so we could have it out in the rain, no problem. So we're gonna get this up on the high riser here. So one thing is, of course, we wanna get the light up as high as possible to mimic the moon. And then we also want a hard source of light. So we're gonna add the Fresnel here. This is a new Fresnel from Nanlux. This is the FL22E. I'm gonna show you in a second what's special about this one. Let me just get it on there. Also, by the way, what I love about these new Nanlite fixtures or Nanlux fixtures is that they're all in one design. So basically all you need is one cable that goes straight into the head here, and then you just plug that into the power outlet. So you don't need a big ballast or anything. It's really easy and quick to set up. The thing is, of course, we're gonna get the 600C quite high up, so I'm not gonna be able to reach the light, but it comes with this control box here, and that's gonna allow me to control the light if I want to, but my preferred way is anyway to use the app. So I'll probably use the app, but I'm just gonna put this on just to be sure if I need it, then it's there. So the Evoke 600C has this new Nebula C8 light engine, and that means we can get a really wide CCT range. So I can go all the way from 1000 Kelvin, which is pretty much red light, all the way up to 20,000 Kelvin, which is really cool light. This is great, you know, because if we want to mimic moonlight here, so we want to get that really cool light. Probably not 20,000. We're going to have a look in the camera what it looks like, probably more around 10,000 or maybe even 15,000. Let's see what it looks like on the camera. So what I was talking about before is that this Nanlux Fresnel is motorized. So it's connected to the light here through an electronic connection. And that means you can control the flood or spot from the Fresnel. For example, on the control box here, I can just press these buttons and it'll go from spot or back to flood, so I can change the angle of the Fresnel there. And you can do this on this control box here, you can do this on the fixture itself, or you can even do that on the app. So that's really cool that you have this remote control of the Fresnel, because imagine I'm gonna put this light all the way up, like 3 meters up. I don't wanna put it up and down if I wanna change anything, so I can have that remote control, which is really clutch. This is what it looks like from the inside right now, and you can tell that it doesn't look quite right yet. We're getting a lot of light on the wall right here, and this is just filling in the entire entryway way too much. So you can see right there the angle of the light. You can tell that the light's actually not very high. That kind of gives it away that it's not really moonlight, or it couldn't be moonlight because the angle is just not steep enough. So what we're gonna do is move in the light a little bit, get the angle much more downward, I guess you could say. And that's probably gonna fix our little problem here. So here's what that same shot looks like with the Evoke 600C closer and at a steeper angle. You can tell how that's reduced the spill by a lot on the wall here. And also it makes this light a lot more believable. It now creates a creepy, cool vibe. And it also silhouettes the character nicely in front of the door until he turns on the light. And that brings us to the second light in this scene, the light coming from the top when our character hits the light switch. The existing ceiling light would be much too bright and flood the entire space, so we had to bring in our own fixture, a PavoSlim 120C panel. Now, because we're working in such a small space and we needed the light overhead, we had to come up with a somewhat creative idea to rig it in place. Luckily, the PavoSlim is so thin and lightweight, making it pretty much ideal for a situation like this. This PavoSlim was going to mimic our household ceiling lamp, so we set it to a warm 3200 Kelvin temperature. This doesn't only feel natural, but also creates a nice color contrast with the cold moonlight coming through the door. To control any light spilling onto the walls and have it beam almost directly down onto our character, we used a grid and also flagged off the light with these skirts. This top light combined with the moonlight coming in through the door was enough to light our subject for the close-ups as well. However, we played around with these two small nan light tubes. One to give our character a small catch light in the eyes, which is a subtle detail, but it does help bring a bit more life into his eyes. And the other tube was adding a subtle rim light on the little device here, just to give it a bit more texture. Moving on to the next part of our scene where the character enters his room, sits at his desk, and starts tinkering with this old radio. Here we've got moonlight in the window, a bunch of practicals, a splash of light from the hallway, and of course our key light. We wanted to continue that moonlight outside, so we started by simply moving the Evoke 600C over to hit the window. Besides that, we only needed to change the angle of the Fresnel a bit for it to cover the entire window. As for our key light, we liked the idea of keeping that top light as a key, as it would make sense in a household environment like this. Also, because this room was so small, we didn't have a lot of space for big lights or big setups. Again, the Pavo Slim is perfect for this, as we could mount it right up against the ceiling boomed up on a C-stand. Still set to 3200 Kelvin and with a grid attached, this helps light up our character in a natural way. And to create a bit more contrast on the camera side of the character, we actually blocked off part of the Pavo Slim. This made sure that the light was mostly hitting the far side of the character, keeping his camera side slightly more in shadow and creating more contrast on his face for the close-up shots. Okay, so for the next part of this scene, we've got quite a lot of practicals and we need control over those practicals because we're going to do this flickering effect later on. So I'm going to take out the existing bulb from this light here and I'm going to replace that with this nan light tube. Because obviously I can control this, I can put an effect on there. I'm gonna set that to 3200 Kelvin, because that's the temperature of our household lamps here. And the cool thing is these are magnetic and the edge of this lamp hood here is metal. So I can actually just kind of attach it on there and it'll stay on. Maybe turn it a little bit like this. And now we have control over this light. Lastly, we had the Nanlux Evoke 150C in the hallway. This is like the small little brother of the 600C, so the same powerful Nebula light engine, only in a smaller package. The Evoke 150C was also set to 3200 Kelvin and it adds a small splash of light in the background, which is also going to help with the flicker scene. At this point in our small story, the character has made contact with the Upside Down, and true to Stranger Things, the light on his desk starts to flicker. Now this was the only light we didn't have full control over, so we actually turned it on and off manually using one of these little remotes. All the other lights, so the Pavo Slim overhead, the Nan light tubes, and the Evoke 150C in the hallway were all connected to the NanLink app. So I could easily set them to a flicker effect and also control the speed of the flicker through the app. And this was also vital for the part of the scene where all the lights go off at the same time. In the app, I can add all of these fixtures into a group and then simply turn off the entire group. This will turn off all the fixtures at the same time, creating this nice tension piece in the scene. At this point, the tension breaks and our character is left in a completely dark room with nothing but moonlight and a bit of light coming from the old radio. Here the gate to the Upside Down opens and we needed a hard red light coming through the hallway door. So we added a projection attachment to the Evoke 150C. Using the flags of the projection attachment, we were able to create a controlled direct beam of light casting onto the floor and onto our character. Then we simply opened the door to reveal the red beam of light from the Upside Down. Now all that was left was introducing our Demogorgon, and I'm no VFX guy, so I knew we were gonna need to do some practical effects to show the shadow of the Demogorgon. And initially I had cut out a tiny Demogorgon out of cardboard, but quickly realized that it needed to be a lot bigger. So what you see here is Micha, aka our Demogorgon. We simply taped pieces of cardboard shaped into that iconic Demogorgon head around his head, and he would then crawl out of the Upside Down, casting a shadow onto the floor and onto our character. Now with all this done, it's time to have a look at the final result. I hope you enjoy it and let me know in the comments what you think.